Thank you, Bridget. I appreciate it. Amber, thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to infiltrate this session. I will be very, very concise. I think there are like 4 slides with material on it. So I'm going to breeze through them, tell you a little bit about the work that we're doing, or a little bit more about the work that we're doing. And of course, allow space for any questions, and I'll share my contact information. You guys can reach out at any point as well. So by way of background, my name is Millie Duboucher. I'm the lead business development manager at a nonprofit organization based in New York City by the name of Neighborhood Trust Financial Partners. We have this one flagship program called Trust Plus, and it's essentially the program through which we provide financial coaching services to organizations, employers, lending institutions, you name it, across the nation, who feel that their employee base or their client base or their borrowers, just their constituencies, would benefit from working with a financial coach to help them navigate some of their most pressing money worries. The average person has a need or two when it comes to personal finances. I'm pretty sure I have never met someone who has got it all down. We all have questions, we all have needs. We focus a lot of our attention on helping people with the fundamentals, the basics of getting a hold of their personal finances. So we'll get into a little bit more detail soon, but generally speaking, our service is very much human-centric. You know, we have a team of very, very awesome people we call financial coaches, who are meeting with people every single day via phone, video, and also offering guidance via text message on a regular basis. This is not a website that we're directing people to so that they can read content about personal finance. It's not just literature that we're sending out. It's actual people who are meeting with clients day in and day out, just like this, Zoom, FaceTime, and they're helping them by answering some of their most stressful financial questions and helping them with all of those issues that plague the best of us, especially now in the midst of this pandemic. A lot of things have changed. People have lost jobs. They're navigating government programs. It's been a bit tricky, but we have been there to help people along their journeys. The service is 100% confidential. So if any one of you in the room or any one of you in your extended networks meet with one of our financial coaches, the information that you share with that coach stays between the two of you. We are not telling anyone, oh, you know, we met with John Smith and he has a credit score of 500 and he is having a hard time. We don't get into that level of detail. We really respect your privacy. The service has basically been funded by United Way of Washtenaw County. So any one of you guys, and again, anyone in your extended networks that meets with one of our coaches does not have to pay for the service, will never have to pay for the service, no strings attached. And a really important point is that anyone who meets with one of our coaches now, you know, throughout this partnership that we have in place with the United Way of Washtenaw County, will have access to this service for life at no cost, whether or not they live in the community 5 years down the line or are affiliated with this wonderful nonprofit in any way, shape, or form. They will still be able to access our service. Our service is offered in both English and Spanish. All of our materials in both languages. Our coaches speak both languages, so that's also an option for your constituencies as well. On this slide, you see some of the typical questions that arise during our initial sessions, and you'll see that they are very practical questions. People are looking to improve their credit, looking to pay off their debt in ways that are smart and effective and efficient. They're looking to better understand their bank accounts. You know, what's the difference between a Chase and a Capital One? Which one is better? You know, I'm getting these credit card offers. Which one is better? I want to understand all the fees that my bank is charging me. I want to avoid those fees, things like that. Everyone is looking to stop living paycheck to paycheck. So they, although they may not explicitly say it this way, they are looking to get help with managing their day-to-day finances. Budgeting help is huge. You know, if we're helping people to pay down their debt faster, then we need to better understand how much money they have coming in, what are their everyday recurring expenses, so that we can then formulate a plan that makes sense for them. They also have questions about retirement. They have questions about home ownership, you name it. The buck kind of stops with us. They start with us, they ask the questions, and then we offer the support. And if there's something that they need help with that we cannot help them with, then we will send them off to someone else that we trust to offer the support that they need. So here on this slide, you see some of the big bucket categories of support that we offer. And of course, in every single one of these categories, there are a million things that we do. Credit and debt is one example that I'll highlight. That's such a broad category. It can go from just looking over someone's credit report and explaining it to them to, making sure that they understand the credit score scale and what that means to them and where they can monitor their credit, to bankruptcy, to consolidating their debt, to debt collectors and settling their accounts with debt collectors, disputing accounts, negotiating with creditors. We do all of it, and we do all of the heavy lifting. We will get on the phone with you and your creditor and fight with the collection agency on your behalf so that they can give you a favorable payment arrangement, and then you send your money to them, right? So we do all of that stuff, but we just have to have you as an active participant in the process. One really important note here is that as a nonprofit, we do not sell anything. We are not in that kind of business. We are not being incentivized to refer you guys to any product or bank or anything like that. If we're making recommendations, is because we think that they're in your best interest. Again, no strings attached. So, we are giving you unbiased advice that is safe, that is trusted. You don't have to worry about us kind of saying, hey, well, there's a fee attached to this thing at any point. That's just not the way that we work. And then the asterisk at the bottom just kind of highlights some areas that we offer limited coaching around: insurance, investment, and tax advice. We can talk about all of those things, pros and cons, and generally speaking, we understand what all of them are. But when it comes down to actual, like let's say tax advice, we can talk about it. We can give you general advice, but we will not actually prepare your taxes for you. We will give you investment advice on a general level, but we will not give you investment advice and tell you exactly what to invest your funds in. That's something that we happily outsource to folks who have a little bit more expertise in those areas. And you can always ask your coach if that's what you need, and then we'll send you to the right folks to get it done. This slide essentially tells you how you could potentially sign up for the service. So there are two ways to do it. One is you can text the code United Way to our phone number. And then when you text that code from your smartphone, you'll get an automatic reply in the form of a link. You click on that link and it takes you to a landing page, which is where you can read more about the service. You can see pictures of the coaches, you can see videos, you can read bios, and you choose the date and time that works best for your appointment. Or you can also register via a link as well. And we'll make sure that you guys have all that information. I can drop it in the chat as soon as I'm done speaking, or we can send it via email, but sending a text or clicking on a link will take you to the same page. And then on that page, within seconds, you can schedule your appointment. You also have the option of seeing a summary of your credit report right away if you want. Again, no fee. It does not hurt your credit in any way. It's simply for educational purposes. And then you can choose to meet with an actual coach to discuss in more detail. I see something popping up in the chat, but I can't quite see the chat. So I'm going to continue.
That was just me dropping in a link to our website,
Awesome.
Which has all the Trust Plus content on there.
Perfect. Thank you, Bridget. I appreciate that. So yeah, this slide is the culminating slide. Again, just kind of reminding you, schedule your appointment, tell your friends, tell your colleagues. 'Tis the season for holiday spending. We're doing a lot of talking about that these days because everyone is kind of digging a hole, and then January will come around and they'll go, oh man, okay, well, I spent a lot of money. This is the time to meet with a coach. We're here for you. Tax season is also approaching. Student loan moratorium is approaching, all types of stuff that we kind of have on our radar. So if you need us, we are more than happy to offer our support. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys. And then, of course, field any questions that you guys may have. Happy to answer them.
I'm not sure if this would be for Bridget or yourself, but at United Way of Washington, who would be the best point of contact? On top of the ways you listed in the website. If I just wanted to call with questions, who'd be the best person to reach out to?
Yeah. So Aaron, I'm going to drop my contact information into the chat. You guys are welcome to shoot me an email if you have any questions. If you have a question before signing up for a session, if you have questions about bringing this service to your organization, if you would like to, what I've done in many cases is I've organized sessions just like this for other organizations, so if you're a part of a different cohort, a different group, and you would like me to lead a session just like this for your employees or for the clients that you serve in any capacity, I'm more than happy to coordinate that with you. So I'll give you my info. Feel free to reach out.
Well, thank you, Millie. That was an excellent presentation, very detailed and some really great service that's out in the community.
Thank you,
Anna,
Amber.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Anna, let me know when you're ready to go and you can go ahead and get started at any time.
Are you guys seeing my screen share just fine?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So basically, I'm here to talk to you guys about the Meep program. I'm sure you guys have heard about it. I believe Salvation Army is also doing the Meep program through your guys' area. So our rules are very, very similar. I actually come up and meet clients either in a public place or at their homes to fill out a Meep application. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick rundown of it so you know what we are doing right now in your area. So basically, this is going to go over who is eligible for Meep assistance. So people need to apply for SER through DHS in order to receive assistance through us. So we help them and assist them with co-pays. Say they had an SER back in October, like around the 15th or something, and DHS paid their whole bill. They still qualify for our program because of that approval. They're basically, DHS is doing the income guidelines and asset checks for us. That's how Meep works. So as long as they have that approval after October 1st, they qualify for our program. So we can help with like, any direct payment assist after that as well. We do have a cap of $2,000. So if somebody has a bill or their copay is more than $2,000, we are going to have to help them find additional resources besides Meep. And they can't go to another Meep provider. And I say that because I have people coming in right now in Monroe County. I had somebody with a $6,000 bill and they tried to go to another Meep provider. And it was an issue because I'm like, I can't make my payment and have them make theirs and you're double dipping. So that's an issue that we currently are having right now because bills have been so high. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up with that. So basically, this is an example of a state emergency relief. So they are allowed to get, clients are allowed to get a state emergency relief for heat and electric both. So this one here that is on my screen only says heat. Okay, they can do it for electric as well. And of course, deliverable fuel. So I have seen DHS approving up to $1,150 for electric. I've had several clients come in with $1,150 DHS payments, which I have never seen before, and I've been doing this for 5 years. So that's above the $850, obviously, that they usually do. I'm not quite sure. Nobody's reached out to me to tell me why they're doing the $1,150. I'm gonna actually send an email to one of my contacts to find out if that's just a Monroe area thing or if I'm gonna start seeing that from Washtenaw, Lenawee, Hillsdale, and Jackson, because I cover all those areas too. So just to give you guys a heads up, that is occurring right now. They are doing that overage of payment, which is pretty neat, I think, because it helps out. So how will clients have access to Meep through MCOP? Have them call me. If they don't feel comfortable with me coming out to their home, I'll meet them someplace in public. I've met somebody at a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot before and had them fill out an application. I mean, it doesn't matter as long as they're getting help from me. I'll do as much as I can over the phone before I go meet to have them sign the application. But unfortunately, we are required to have original signatures on the applications. If you personally have them in your office, I can actually send you the application and have you do original signatures and then send it back to me. We could do it that way as well. It's just, we're trying to not create barriers for people, and I want to make it as easy as possible. That's just my thing. I want to help as many people in your area as I can, and all the other counties as well. So what's the process for seeking utility assistance? Obviously, you need to have the client apply for an SCR if they haven't done so already. And then we do make them do wraparound services or self-sufficiency services. I sit down and I do budget counseling. I'm also a housing counselor here. I'm certified through HUD and MSHA. So I bring those services along with that. I do budget counseling and I do energy education with them as part of the wraparound services. Last year and the year before, we did supply energy education kits in the summer that included light bulbs, seals like caulk, window plastics. I mean, we did timers, all kinds of stuff like that. But like I said, they have to be a client that's approved through SCR to be able to get that. And in the summer, we also did a program that if they participated in an online Zoom course for energy education, we gave them $100 stipend. So, I mean, that was something that was just an extra little push for anybody that participated. So one thing that we are not allowed to pay for out of Meep funding is late fees and alien prorations, any proration amounts. Prorated amounts are usually meaning that somebody in the household does not have a social security number and is not a US citizen, and that the state is not counting them. And that's where they fall under alien proration amount. That's what those are. So Meep funds are not allowed to pay for that or late fees. We only can do holds on the client's account if they apply for SCR first, or if they've contacted me and are in process of applying for SCR. Usually the caseworker at DHS places a 30-day hold on DTE accounts, so they're not getting shut off. So one issue is we're trying to make people more aware that they need to be proactive, because we're having people calling us the day that they're shut off, or they were shut off yesterday, and I can't get them just turned back on. They have to go and fill out a SCR, and DHS is not going to turn them back on right away. So people are not realizing that, last year with everything that went on, they didn't get shut off for 2 months, for 3 months. Now, they're not as concerned about a shut off notice as they used to be. People are getting shut off. All right. So we have to try to make our clients more aware of that. So basically, if you guys have any questions about the process, I am the direct program specialist. You can contact me here at MCOP. Just jot my number down real quick. My direct extension is 202. The best way to reach me, because I'm always like running around here like a chicken with my head cut off, is through email. I will answer email after hours, because I have my phone on me all the time and I do email from it. So yeah. Any questions? I see people in the chat box, so give me 2 seconds here. Oh, I think somebody just left. Okay. So does anybody have any questions?
I see a question from Emily in the chat.
Yep, I see it. How long does the Meep process take? So basically, once the SCR is approved and I have the SCR in hand and they've signed the application, because I try to go up there either same day, next day, depending on their situation. I try to get up there as quickly as possible. And as soon as I put my commitment in, it's in. So once I have signatures and the SER in hand, I put my commitment in. So, and then I email the caseworker if I need to. So it just really depends, because SER takes 7 to 10 days they're allowed. I've had it just depends on the caseworkers. I've had them turn around in like a day. I've had them turn around in 6 hours. Last week I had a caseworker do a client who was shut off in an hour, and she had the SER in my email, and the client was already here signing her Meep application. So, I mean, it just depends on how quick the caseworker is, and then it goes from there. I hope that answered your question, Emily. So, anybody else? Okay. Well, thank you so much for letting me participate today. I just wanted to get everything out to you guys and let you know that we are still assisting in your county. And, you know, just start referring clients to me. I've just trained somebody. I have a new coworker. She's helping me as well with utility applications. And we're trying to help as many people as we can in Washtenaw. And it's very important that we get more clients.
Anna, thank you so much. We appreciate all the hard work you're doing. I know you got a lot.
I do, but you know, I'm just happy to be working, you know, because I was off for 3 months this past year. I had a baby, so I'm just happy to be back to work, and you know, I like what I do. So thank you.
Anna, there was someone asked if you could paste your contact in the chat for us.
Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and just pop it in there.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, not a problem.
Okay, Matthew, I have your presentation up if you'd like me to do it. You could also screen share if you'd like, either way.
Up, yeah, if you have it up, that'd be great, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. Just let me know when you need me to scroll through.
Sure. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to be here. It's my first time at the meeting, so I appreciate Amber's open invitation to let me come over here. My name is Matt, and I work at the Ann Arbor VA healthcare system, and here to talk a little bit about sort of the new role that the VA has rolled out. And that is my role, which is the community engagement and partnership coordinator role. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and what it means, and my reason for being here today. But just to back up a little bit, I'm a social worker by trade, and I kind of grew up in the community mental health world. So I started out on a mobile crisis team, made my way to assertive community treatment, and then found myself on the suicide prevention team at the VA in Battle Creek, and then recently transferred over here to Ann Arbor, kind of back to my, I will say my hometown here, because this is where I went to school at, and it's great to be back in this area. More importantly, close to family. So I guess I've kind of always had a passion for suicide prevention work. And now I'm in this role here at the VA, which is the community-based approach to suicide prevention. And so this is a really interesting thing, because it's not very common for the VA to kind of be outreaching into the community like this. And I know back in my days in community mental health, I was completely clueless as to, you know, who to call, who to contact, you know, what resources are there for veterans. And so I think this is important that they've rolled this out, and it's exciting too. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And if you want to move to the next slide, I got to give a little context to what this program is. So there is a 10-year national strategy for preventing veteran suicide. It started in 2018. And it's going to 2028. This is a big, elaborate program. You could find a big PDF on it on the internet if you want to have some more information about it. But in essence, it's sort of rooted in 3 main principles. And what Suicide Prevention 2.0 is, it's the community-based interventions for suicide prevention. It's a community-based approach. So it's kind of like their next phase. It started back in 2018. This is simply the next phase of their national strategy rolling out. And the fundamentals of it is that suicide's preventable, not inevitable. There are things that we can do individually and as a community to prevent suicide. The second sort of pillar is that suicide prevention is really everybody's business. You know, maybe in some ways there's a thought that it's, you know, maybe just there for a therapist to help out with or to help figure out. But we know that many areas in a person's life contributes to that decision to take their life. So it's a very complex thing. And for every life that is lost to suicide, about 140 people are impacted by that. So suicide prevention is definitely everybody's business. And then lastly, it's really going to take a full public health approach to address. There isn't a single entity or organization that can address this problem alone. So it's really going to take a public health approach. It's going to take all of us working together. And that's really the essence of what Suicide Prevention 2.0 is, this next rollout of their national strategy. If you don't mind going to the next slide, please, Amber. And so what they're, oh yeah, my team picture's on here. I almost forgot about that. So that's me, obviously. And then we have two other folks here working out of the Ann Arbor VA healthcare system, Alyssa and Jeremy. And I almost forgot about them, but they're wonderful. And I'll kind of get into our coverage areas, you know, towards the end of the presentation. Right now, my focus is on Washtenaw, Lenawee, and starting in Livingston County. And we all have, the VA in short covers about 19 counties. And I'll show you at the end sort of where we cover, this obviously being one of them. So those are my other teammates that we will eventually be covering all 19 of these counties doing the work that we're doing. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. So our public health strategy is a combination of pretty much the community-based work and our clinically based work. So the VA does a ton of research, has a bunch of amazing programs and strategies on the clinical side, as far as the interventions that they use and things that they do in the clinical world that really they do great work as far as the suicide prevention work that they're doing, ways to track and monitor folks that are at high risk for suicide. So they do incredible things in the clinical realm. So that's what the clinical side of that is. And then we have our community-based approach, which really is what I'm here to more focus on today. And that is the collaboration with community organizations and stakeholders. And this being on a local and state level, you know, sort of moving this mission forward. So we're really looking to work with everybody in the community who has an interest in preventing veteran suicide. And so that's what the public health strategy looks like. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So with that being said, there are three focus areas that we're looking to focus on. These priority areas are based on evidence-based research. It sort of mirrors the CDC's latest research in their technical package that they came out with regarding community-based approaches for suicide prevention. But more importantly, why are we looking at these three areas? So identifying service members, veterans, and their family members and screening for the risk of suicide. The old saying, you know, we've probably heard before is you don't know what you don't know. And you also don't know who you do not know. And sadly, about 65% of veterans that die by suicide haven't received any kind of VA care. And so that opens up the door to the question of, you know, have these veterans received any care? If so, where did they receive that care? And this is important, obviously, because we know that when people are connected to good primary care, mental health care, connection in the community, the risk of suicide decreases quite a bit. So with this being said, there are programs out there that help agencies and organizations that have nothing to do with the VA become veteran connectors, and making sure that people aren't falling through the cracks. So obviously, when 65% of our veterans aren't receiving care here, I think they finally woke up and realized we need to reach out to our community partners to make sure that our veterans are getting what they need. So the second priority area, promoting connectedness and improving care transitions. Suicide risk factors include isolation, alienation, feelings of not belonging, feeling as if they're a burden to others. So part of what we're trying to focus on is how to improve the connectedness to the community with our veterans. And that looks like a lot of different things, but this is a priority area because we know that when there is that sense of connection, that really, really has a profound impact as a protective factor against suicide. There was actually a really great training I kind of went to, and I'll try to be concise with all of this, but Dr. Thomas Joyner is a big researcher with suicide, and long story short, connectedness is one of the #1 protective factors for somebody. So when we look at how to connect people in our community, this is really important. And lastly, increasing lethal means safety and safety planning. So, there's some research to show that when somebody has kind of made that decision to take their life, there's about a 1-hour period of time, and it's generally within the first 20 minutes that somebody is in a really critical position from the time of making that decision to acting on that decision. And tons of research has been done to understand that the time and distance away from whatever that lethal means may be, and the time frame of that. So basically more time and more distance between whatever that lethal means is, serves as a tremendous protective factor to keeping somebody alive and getting through that crisis. So time and distance plays a pivotal role. And so we want to increase the lethal means safety and safety planning. And that can look like a lot of different things. And definitely ways to implement some of those strategies. So those are the 3 focus areas that we're looking to do. And with that being said, my role is to work with the community, and develop coalitions that revolve around these priority areas. And in Washtenaw County, there's already an existing coalition for suicide prevention, which my first meeting will be on Thursday. So I'm really tomorrow. So I'm really excited to be a part of that and to join. And consider this an open invitation to anybody who has an interest in this. And just hearing a few of the presenters today really kind of makes me think that there could definitely be some potential to collaborate. Obviously, finances and things like that could play a role in somebody's mental well-being. So there's, not to put you guys on the spot or anything, but it's just exciting. And it's great to see that there's so many organizations here that could really, be a part of this if they wanted to be. So let's move on to the next slide. All this is really saying here is that our priority areas that I just talked about really coincide and are complementary with what the CDC strategies are that they've put out. So all the things that we're looking at, again, are kind of this evidence-based approach, and that has been shown to reduce suicide. So I won't spend too much time on this slide since we've already reviewed those. If you can go to the next slide, please. This really just kind of shows the big picture. So what we have here is obviously they have a national strategy. And then when we kind of break it down to the state level, there's a program called the Governor's Challenge. And if you're not familiar with that, it's really an interesting partnership. It's between not just the VA, but it also includes SAMHSA, some other state policymakers, folks from DHHS, basically any kind of state agency that you could imagine is probably a part of this. The Governor's Challenge kind of works with their leadership kind of on, the top-down approach. And then on a community-based level, you have ourselves, you have the, we have the Mayor's Challenge, we have the community engagement and partnership coordinators that are working on the more local community levels, kind of building this up from the ground up. And then there's a few other programs within the VA there. So together with veterans is kind of a veteran to veteran coalition building in more rural areas, based on, to same principles of suicide prevention. But what's interesting about that is it's a veteran led coalition. And I think there's about 14 of these coalitions so far. So it's still kind of growing, but you'll find those more in the rural areas. And so this is kind of how we all sort of fit together here. So the Governor's Challenge, which we're also a part of, focuses on those same priority areas. Like I said, it's just working more from, the top down leadership on the state level to the community. Let me see here. Yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. All right, thanks. So we're also building, and maybe some of you have had some interaction with some of the mental health folks at the VA. There are suicide prevention coordinators that have been in this role for a long time. They work kind of more on the clinical end of things. I'm not going to get too much into this, but long story short is they also had a community engagement role. So there may be some folks here who've had some interactions with our suicide prevention coordinators. They're amazing. If you ever run into a situation and you're working with a veteran and you need some assistance on that end, I'll be happy to provide my contact info along with our suicide prevention coordinators contact info, because they can be a great resource to get things figured out and to get somebody some help. So they're excellent. So we've just kind of naturally fit within that team, and we just really kind of complement each other's roles, and we're there to sort of just more or less bolster what they've already started in the community work that they've done. Let's see, next slide, please. And then this really is just kind of an overview of our roles, really, which I already kind of touched on. So it's a community-based role. My role isn't a clinical role anymore. So this is the first time I've actually gotten out of that. And, but it's still great because I can still serve veterans in a way that's going to be impactful as well. So we are connected to the suicide prevention team at the VA here in Ann Arbor. And we do all sorts of different things aside from trying to build these partnerships and coalitions. We also are here to provide education into the community, as well as far as all sorts of different gatekeeper trainings, military culture, all sorts of different things. So there's there's definitely a lot of opportunity here to work together. And that's pretty much the nutshell of little bit of the background of what the VA is doing as far as their approach to suicide prevention, some of the community-based work that we're doing, and then these new roles that they've recently rolled out. If you can move to the next slide, please. So I dropped all of myself and my colleagues' contact information in here. As I mentioned, I'm working right now in Washington, Livingston, and Lenawee, and then this is currently where where Jeremy and Alyssa are working in Genesee, Monroe, Wood County, Ohio, Hillsdale, Jackson, and Eastern Michigan campus. But if you move to the next slide, I think I should have our entire catchment area here. And this is where, this is pretty much all the areas that we cover. So a lot of the northern counties of Ohio, and then of course, everything highlighted here, Washtenaw and all those surrounding counties there. And statewide, we have people, of course, from other coverage, other VAs that cover different areas, but this is where we're at. I think that's what I have for you. Let's go to that's it. So appreciate your time. Definitely open to questions. If you think of something else, outside of here, be happy to email me, call me. I'll drop my contact info in the chat as well. Let me see, were there questions? Let me pull up the chat here. Is this for veterans only? No. So, well, maybe if you could you unmute and elaborate on that? Is Shannon still on?
No, it doesn't look like she's still here.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's unfortunate. I'll answer it anyways. So we're not necessarily trying to get folks in the community connected with the VA. You know, we don't really care where they get their services from. We just want to help them and make sure. So they're at a higher risk for suicide, and we know that, and we're just doing what we can. So is this for veterans only? If they were going to try to get services at the VA, then yes, that would be, of course, for veterans only. But as far as joining these coalitions and these partnerships, absolutely not. This is why we're here. We're reaching out to the community members, we're reaching out to these different organizations, and we want our veterans involved in these coalitions too. So, you know, we reached out to different posts and different places, because the old saying, don't build something for us without us. And that's what we don't want to do. So we definitely want to make sure that we have everybody at the table who wants to be there. So I hope if she sees this, that answers the question both ways on that.
All right, hearing and seeing no further questions, I'll go ahead and get started.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and share. There have been some changes in the Barrier Busters auto repair request system. We're doing this to try to streamline request times for auto repair. The other purpose of this is to maybe open it up to organizations who have not yet processed auto repair requests. So we really want to make this guide to just break down our new process, but there will also be a full text document available on the Barrier Busters resource page after the meeting. So one of the most important things when doing auto repair requests with us is gathering all the information you need before making the request. So for documentation, we currently require a valid driver's license. This needs to be a full license and not a permit. Current car registration, proof of valid insurance, a written auto shop estimate, proof of income for the last 30 days, and a doctor's note if it's needed for medical requests. And that can be sent to the staff email listed on the left side of the screen. So the first step in requesting auto repair funds are proof of the transportation necessity. So we need to know that this car is necessary for your client to live a full life. So one of the things we are going to ask screening agencies to do is explore if using public transportation is feasible. If we are going to fund an auto repair, it has to be necessary for work, school, or medical reasons. Unfortunately, looking for work does not count under this. Medical reasons is a little tricky. What we need is someone who needs it for consistent medical treatment and not just occasional rides to the doctor's office. There are other transit options we can look into for those who just need occasional help with getting to the doctors. So the second thing we'd ask screening agencies who want to do auto repairs is to just do a simple budget with the client. We don't need to see this. What we want to really know is that the money that we're giving them is going to remove the crisis. So all auto-related expenses must fit into the client's budget with enough money left over to pay for other needs such as rent, utilities, and food. So when we're factoring that in, we want to look at how much gas they're using a month, what their insurance costs are, if there are car payments, any costs related to upkeep such as oil changes. We just want the payment to really end the crisis situation. We don't want to get into a point where we've repaired a vehicle that they won't be able to afford to keep insurance on in 6 months. So when we say that caseworkers should do budgeting to see which resources should be accessed, we want to take in the factors of like how old the car is and how reasonable it is to continue having that car as part of the budget. We don't want to be repairing older vehicles that are going to break down again in a couple months. So step 3, we want to confirm legal driving status. We just want to make sure they have a valid driver's license, registration, current insurance. If your client doesn't have insurance, we do have some funding available for insurance, and we do have some recommended insurance providers. So that's something that Barrier Busters can help address if it'll fit in their budget in the future. Step 4 would be assessing the worth of the vehicle. So we want a written estimate from an auto repair shop with a licensed mechanic. Sent to Barrier Buster staff. We want to make sure that the car is worth repairing. We won't deny the repair if the estimate exceeds the Kelly Blue Book value, but we do want to have a conversation with staff to try to see if there's other options. If the client doesn't have an estimate, we do have some recommended repair shops that will be available on our document. And then step 5 is just to seek matching funding. So if you have a DHHS Work First or Michigan Rehabilitation client, we want to refer them to their worker. They may qualify for state funding. And then we have a few community organizations, including Friends Indeed, Ann Arbor Thrift Shop, Ypsilanti Thrift Shop, and St. Vincent's de Paul that are sometimes able to provide matching funding for Barrier Busters clients. Does anybody have any questions about that or anything I can clarify? Check the chat.
Just for me to be clear, program is not for, I mean, it's for individuals, but they must go through an agency to get to you. Not an individual directly.
Yes, this would be for any of our Barrier Busters screening agencies who would be able to make requests from the Barrier Busters Unmet Needs Fund. If you have a client that needs auto repair, you can always look at our list of agencies for requesting agencies, and they should have an agency contact that you could refer them to. Lily, I see you were asking if we will provide a budgeting worksheet. Not at this time, but that's a great suggestion. I'll definitely look into it. Do we have any other questions? All right, hearing none and seeing none, I will move on to the budget update. All right, so we have good news. We do have flexible funding available. We still have about 29K and some change for the rest of the year. We did get approved for an additional 75K and funding for the next fiscal year. Please just be mindful when you're making requests that we do only have a limited amount. So I want to just encourage you guys to look for other funding sources first, if possible. We do still have some CSBG funding if your agency is cleared for that. We will always try to help as many people as possible. What I would recommend is definitely having your clients apply for SIR or SARA funding first before submitting a barrier busters request, but we should be able to help people through the end of the year. Did anybody have any questions about that? All right, well, hearing none and seeing none, we will go ahead and adjourn. Happy holidays, guys.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone. We'll see you next month.
Bye.
Thank you. Happy holidays.